What's up, everybody? You know, as we reach the 1000th Raw this upcoming Monday, which I will record and see, and probably do some live reactions, depending. The biggest question, some of the questions are, who is going to be there? Well, besides the legends we have seen for the past few weeks, like Vader, Piper, Backlund, Sid Vicious, you know, Rikishi, Doink, DDP, besides them, and probably many others, Lord only knows who's going to show up. From what I understand from reading online through various sources like F4W Online, Ringside News, Bleacher Reports, PWI Torch, from what I understand, Vince McMahon's being very, very tight-lipped, very, very secretive. In other words, Vince McMahon's even going as far, according to numerous sources on the inside, to let bygones be bygones, at least for one night, to make this the biggest deal he can. Now, that's all good and everything, but then you got the nagging question of who will they put in charge? Or just the GM of Raw and possibly SmackDown. Because now, as far as I know, from what Michael Cole said on Monday, it'll be only Raw. But from what we'd heard weeks before, it's going to be both shows. So who knows? But the question is, who will they put in charge? Well, a lot of people have kind of come up with the idea of who they think it could be. Now, got a little bit of an itch here, sorry. Now, some people have, they have tried out some people, at least for the past few weeks. This past Monday, they didn't have anybody, which was a surprise. They didn't have anybody, which could be the format they go with, but we don't know. They didn't have anybody in charge. Now, we did get a clue that Michael Cole said through Storyline that he had applied for the job too. But who will it be? Well, you had your possible candidates, if you will. You had your possible candidates. You had Mick Foley for both shows, Vicky, who else? You had Teddy Long, and then separately you had the anonymous GM and Zack Ryder. So I think that might be the direction to go with, two separate GMs. And then, well, the anonymous GM / Hornswoggle, whatever. And then, yesterday, and then last night, 2 nights ago, nobody. So we don't know who's going to be the GM, or who the GM, and obviously from what I understand, there's no GM on SmackDown. But there is somebody I think the Schleg Daddy might be happy to see come SmackDown. In fact, there's somebody he just met and stood side by side and stood in the ring with at a certain Hall of Fame ceremony and weekend. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, nobody besides this week being non-GM run. The question is, who's going to take control of Raw and maybe SmackDown? Well, besides trying to guess who they're going to bring in legend-wise and superstars of the past and what kind of bygones are going to be bygoned for at least for one night, words going around that you could probably have Medusa back as Alundra Blaze for the night. Obviously, you might have Lita and Trish. You might have Goldberg, despite the fact that he says he may not be there, but according to several sources, when they say they're not going to be, try to throw you off, they might be. You'll have Bret Hart, you'll have DX, the list could go on and on. The Rock, Austin maybe. Again, the list could go on and on. You'll have Lesnar. It's just going to be like a who's who kind of deal. Undertaker. But despite trying to guess who among all those people, who else might be joining them, legend and currently, and maybe even new, if you will, debuting, the question is, who will be put in charge? Well, to me, you got a few possible candidates. I think it might be someone new, obviously, because yeah, you know, everybody would say, well, if you do Vicky, Vicky's obviously going to, storyline-wise, be a great heel GM, and she'll be, just like with Edge before, push Dolph Ziggler to be the man, and make sure Dolph has the world title, WWE title in his grasp all the time. Make sure he has the WWE title, world title in his grasp all the time. And then you might have Teddy Long, who is checking. I don't know when my mom will be back from her taking care of her business. But anyway, and then you might have Teddy Long, who could play the unbiased GM, the face, if you will, but be unbiased. You could have Mick Foley, which a lot of fans would like. You could have Bret Hart come back. You know, the list could go on. But here's my potential candidates, and these are my 5 candidates. I definitely have to go with the ones they've tried out already. Mick Foley, Vicky, and Teddy as being 3 of the 5. I'm looking at 2 new faces as well to join that. One new face is going to join, but I'm not going to say who it's going to be because I think it's going to be someone even I won't expect. So, an unknown as the 4th spot. And then the other one to round up the top 5 who I think is going to get it, Eve Torres. Yeah, believe it or not, Eve. I really think she's going to get it. Well, not get it, but I feel she's one of the top 5 candidates. Her and the unknown, I guess you could maybe say Michael Cole, you could put it number 4. Okay, alright, let's look at it this way. Mick Foley, Teddy Long, Vicky Guerrero, number 4, tied at number 4, Michael Cole, and possibly an unknown, even someone that would surprise me, and Eve Torres. So basically that's your top 5.5, if you will, your top 6, whatever you want to call it. Your top 6, 5.5, whatever. Foley, Guerrero, Long, Cole, unknown, and Eve Torres. So basically your top 6. Let's just put it that way. Those are the top 6 names I think are candidate worthy of being the next GM of Raw and possibly even SmackDown. That's what I feel. Now you might say to yourself, well, why do you think it could be Cole or an unknown? Well, Michael would make a great GM, a heel GM basically, because he'd basically favor. Here's the thing: a heel GM always has to favor somebody, right? So who better to favor The Miz than Michael Cole? I mean, Michael Cole could say something like, every main event from now on a pay-per-view, The Miz will be involved. Every championship match, The Miz will be involved. Miz. You know, I mean, that would work. That would work. And maybe you can go somewhere with that. And then the unknown, well, the unknown could be someone totally out of left field, someone that has no allegiance towards anybody, basically plays no favorites. It's kind of like a tweener, someone that's a heelish face in a way that basically plays no favorites. Doesn't matter if you're a baby face or a heel, you get on the bad side, you're going to feel the wrath. So I think someone that plays no favorites. That's what I feel the unknown's going to be. But I feel it's going to be someone completely out of left field. And then, to me, Eve Torres. And why do I think Eve could be a potential candidate? It's real simple. On her tweet, she tweeted to AJ, in character, she said, have a nice life with your slimy backstabbing boyfriend Daniel Bryan, whatever. And she says, I'm off to bigger things because I'm off to bigger things. Hashtag 1000th Raw. So why would she say in character that she's off to bigger things, hashtag 1000th Raw? It makes you think, folks. And using the Titantron still when she was the executive administrator, and she went to the board of directors and asked to have a match, another mixed tag where she could choose a partner. So there are clues there, folks, that she could be the potential next GM. And think about what she could do as the GM. Think about what she could do, folks. She could get people to do whatever she wanted. Heck, she could even, if she wanted to, if they were to give it to her, storyline-wise, she could say, I'm going to use that first hour of this 3-hour Raw and make it all about me. Do an Eve Torres show where I have the guests talk about me or else they're fired. Kind of deal. I mean, think about it. Storyline-wise, it would work. It would work. But then again, we don't really know yet. But to me, that's my top 5, maybe top 6 candidates for the GM of who could be named the GM this Monday night on the 1000th Raw. Again, I feel it's either going to be 3 that we've already been accustomed to, have been in sort of that role before. It's either going to be an unknown, it totally has no allegiance towards anybody, doesn't care about anybody, only does their job, and if you get on the bad side, you'll pay the price, no matter who you are or what side you're on. I feel it could be Michael Cole, because a lot of people think he'd be perfect as a heelish GM, and like I said, could definitely go storyline-wise, where he favors The Miz and puts Miz in main events all the time, in championship matches all the time. And 2, and finally, I feel it could be Eve, and that would make a great story, and she could make a great heelish GM as well. So, but it could be, so that to me, like I said, is my top 5 to top 6 candidates who I think WWE storyline-wise is going to name as the GM of Raw and possibly SmackDown. But who do you think it's going to be? Who do you think it's going to be? Me? Well, I don't really know. I'm just going to wait and see. If it's somebody we've already been accustomed to, so be it. It'd be great. If it's somebody out of left field, like I said, that's totally unknown, show no allegiance to anybody, that'd be good too. Cole and Eve, I think, are good potential heelish candidates, so we'll see what happens. But that's all I'm going to say. My thoughts on the 1000th Raw. Let you know that there will be live reactions maybe to it, as well as and there will be a review and stuff, so look forward to that on the 23rd. But that's all I'm going to say, and that's it. Peace out. Comment if you like down below.